It was supposed to be a quiet Tuesday. I'd wrapped up work at the construction site earlier than expected. Some pipe issue that got sorted faster than anyone predicted. Instead of clocking out at 6, I pulled into the driveway by 3:30. My wife's car was already there, parked beside our neighbor Janet's silver Honda. I figured they were probably out back, sharing their usual afternoon coffee like they often did. Claire worked part-time as a dental hygienist and usually made it home by 2. Grabbing my lunch cooler from the truck, I started toward the front door but caught the sound of voices drifting from the backyard. They weren't shouting, but they weren't exactly whispering either. Curiosity got the better of me, so I walked around the side of the house, thinking I'd say hello. That's when I heard Claire. "I mean, let's face it," she was saying. "I definitely married beneath myself, and honestly, everyone sees it but him." I stopped dead in my tracks. Janet murmured something, but it was too soft to catch. Claire continued, "Think about it, Janet. I brought a college degree into this marriage. A respectable family, social awareness. He's a construction guy who never finished college. He can't navigate a conversation at a dinner party without me having to steer it. I always have to make sure he doesn't say something awkward." I stood there in my dusty work clothes, lunch cooler in hand. Listening to the woman I'd loved and supported for 4 years reduced me to nothing more than an embarrassment in front of our neighbor. "But he seems like a good partner," Janet offered gently. "Oh, he earns okay, pays the bills. But that's just the bare minimum, right?" Claire replied with a hint of disdain. "When I take him to work events or formal dinners, I constantly feel like I'm babysitting. I can't relax. Honestly, I sometimes wonder what I was thinking marrying him. My parents were right. I thought love would fix it all. I was wrong." That last line knocked the wind out of me. I turned, walked quietly back to my truck, and sat in the driver's seat. For 10 solid minutes, I just sat there, thinking, trying to steady my breathing. Then I grabbed my keys, went back to the front door, and walked in like nothing had happened. "Hey babe, I'm home early," I called. Claire popped her head in from the back. "Oh hi, honey. Everything okay?" "Yeah, just wrapped up earlier than expected. Heard you talking out back. Got company?" "Just Janet. We're catching up over coffee." "Catching up? That's what she called degrading me to the neighbor? Nice. I'm gonna take a quick shower. Maybe we can go out for dinner later." "Sure. I'll finish up here and start getting ready." As soon as I got upstairs, I made my first call to Bob, my attorney. He'd helped me buy the house and set up my construction business. "Hey Bob, quick question. How would a divorce play out, asset-wise?" He hesitated. "Something wrong, Dan?" "Just trying to understand where I stand. That's all." "Well, the house is yours from before the marriage, so that's protected. Same with your business. Anything gained during the marriage is potentially shared, but sounds like you kept it modest. She might get something, but not much. And spousal support? She has a job. 4 years of marriage. Probably minimal, if anything. Start putting together the paperwork." "You sure about this?" "I am." Next call was to the bank. We had a joint account and she was linked to my credit cards. I needed to protect myself. "Hi. I'm looking into separating and need to understand how to manage joint finances." They explained I could remove her from my personal credit cards right away. For joint accounts, I'd need her consent or to close them entirely. I asked about opening new individual accounts and they told me that was no problem. "All right," I said. "I'll think it over and call back." I wasn't going to act recklessly. I needed to make sure every step I took was smart, legal, and irreversible once I committed. Claire came upstairs just as I was ending the call. "You ready to go?" I smiled. "Yeah, let's eat." But I knew dinner would just be one last performance. "Before we head out," she said casually, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," I replied. She hesitated, then asked, "How do you really feel about our marriage?" I blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean? Like, are you happy? Do you think we're a good fit?" Yeah, I do." "Why are you asking?" "Just making sure we're in sync." "We are," she said with a smile. "Everything's fine." She said it with such ease, everything's fine. But I'd heard her talking to a neighbor just that afternoon. Heard her say she'd married down. We went out to dinner that evening. Downtown, a beautiful spot. She was cheerful, chatted about work, about plans for the weekend. Nothing in her demeanor hinted at the disdain she'd shown earlier. I played along, made small talk, nodded when appropriate. But underneath, I was processing. When we got home, she went upstairs. I stayed in the kitchen, silent, thinking, wondering. Around 11, I finally walked up and found her in bed, reading. "I need to talk to you," I said. She looked up, curious. "What's up?" "I overheard what you said to Janet today." The color drained from her face. "What are you talking about?" "The part where you told her you married down. That I embarrass you socially." She froze for a long second, probably weighing what she could deny. Then, with a shrug that stung more than any lie ever could, she said, "Well, it's not untrue." There it was. No apology. No attempt to soften the blow. "So that's how you really feel? Dan, be honest with yourself. I've got a degree. You finished school later through a GED. I come from a family of professionals. Yours work trade jobs. I'm comfortable in any social circle. You get stiff when the conversation turns intellectual." She wasn't shouting. She wasn't cruel. But she was brutally matter-of-fact. "I'm not trying to insult you," she added. "You asked how I felt." "You're right," I said, and I smiled, not sarcastically. Just a calm, grateful smile. "Thanks for your honesty." She looked confused. "You're not angry?" "Not at all. It actually helps. A lot." We turned in for the night like nothing had happened. But in my mind, a decision was already forming. The next morning, I made some calls. Legal calls. Financial ones. I wanted to know my options. What I could do to protect my assets without creating conflict. My lawyer, Bob, told me I had every right to take precautionary steps. Removing her from credit cards, opening solo accounts, documenting everything. He said separation paperwork could be ready by Friday. Over the next few days, I worked quietly. Took inventory of our finances. Compiled records. She saw me sorting papers but didn't ask questions. Friday came. Bob called. The documents were done. He asked how I wanted to serve them. I told him I'd do it myself. That night, after dinner, I asked her to talk. "Sure," she said. "What's going on?" "I've been thinking about what you said earlier this week. About how we come from different worlds." She tensed. "Dan, I didn't mean it like. I know what you meant, and I think you were right. We're not as compatible as we thought." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe we should spend some time apart. Reevaluate things. Give each other a chance to find someone more aligned." She stared at me. "Dan, I wasn't asking for a separation. I was just being real about our differences. And I appreciate that. You gave me clarity. I think we both deserve someone who doesn't feel out of place standing beside the other." "I don't think you're out of place," she insisted. I was venting frustrations. Everyone does that. "Most people don't tell their neighbors they're embarrassed by their partner," I said quietly. Then I handed her the papers. She stared down at them in disbelief. "This is real. It's just a legal separation. Nothing final. I think space could do us good." "You want me to move out?" "I think it's the best way to reset. You've got options, your family, maybe a short-term rental. I'll stay here in the meantime." "Dan, this doesn't make sense. I don't want this. If what you told Janet was true, then deep down, maybe you do. Maybe it just hadn't reached the surface yet." She didn't say anything for a long time, just stared at the documents in her lap. And I stood there, feeling more certain with every passing second. "What was going through your head when you married me?" "That sounds like regret." "No, it was just a moment of doubt. Everyone has those." "Sure. But not everyone shares those doubts with their neighbors." She flipped through the documents slowly. "You're asking for sole use of the house. It's my house. I owned it before we got married. But I live here too. And you can stay if you want to work through this. But if you honestly believe we're not right for each other, maybe it's time to call it. I don't want to separate. Then let's address the real problem. The fact that you're ashamed of me and believe you married beneath yourself. I can work on that. No, Claire. You don't work on not being ashamed of your husband. Either you respect me, or you don't. She stared at the paperwork, silent. How long do I have to decide? Take the weekend. Let me know by Monday. By Sunday night, Claire was pleading. She asked me to throw away the documents and forget the whole thing. She promised to be more encouraging, to stop obsessing over social status, to value our life together. But by then, the damage was already done. I'd heard how she really felt when she thought I wasn't listening. That kind of hidden contempt doesn't vanish just because you got caught. Monday morning, she came down the stairs carrying 2 suitcases. I'm going to stay with my sister for a bit. But I want you to know, I think this is a mistake. Maybe, I said. But I'd rather make a mistake than stay married to someone who thinks they settled. I never said I settled. You said you married down. Dan, I love you. No, you love the life I gave you. That's different. She loaded her things into the car and left. I went to work like any other day. That afternoon, I got a call from my credit card company. Mr. Roberts, we just blocked a large purchase attempt on your card. The person said she's your wife. She is or was. I revoked her access last week. Just confirming the decline was intentional. It was. Thank you. Apparently, Claire had tried to make a big purchase and realized her cards were no longer working. An hour later, she called. Dan, my cards aren't working. I removed your authorization last week. What? Why? Part of the separation. How am I supposed to buy groceries and gas? With your own money. You have a job and a bank account. I can't maintain the same lifestyle on my salary alone. Then adjust your lifestyle. You're being vindictive. No, I'm being realistic. We're not together. You need to be self-sufficient now. Dan, please, let's work this out. We can talk when you figure out whether you want a husband or just someone to fund your lifestyle. Over the next 3 weeks, she called a few times. I only answered to handle necessary things, mail, furniture, the boring logistics of splitting a life in 2. Her sister called, too. Dan, Claire's having a hard time. She can't afford her own place and doesn't want to move back home. That's tough. She realizes she made a mistake. No, her mistake wasn't talking to Janet. Her mistake was thinking I wouldn't ever find out how she really feels. She was just venting. You know how she can be. Exactly. I know exactly how she can be. That's why I'm done. She still loves you. No, she loved the comfort, the convenience, the image. She loved having someone steady while she waited for someone better. That's not fair. Neither is being married to someone who looks down on you. Week 3, Claire showed up at my job site. I was going over blueprints with the crew when I saw her pull up. Dan, can we talk? I'm working, Claire. Please, just 5 minutes. I told the crew to take a short break and walked over. What do you want? I want to come home. I see now how much I took you for granted. What exactly have you realized? That I was wrong to dwell on our differences. I should have appreciated what we had. And what did we have? Love, stability, a real partnership. We had a life where you smiled in public and cringed in private. Where you quietly judged me while enjoying everything I provided. I don't feel that way anymore. No, now that you're living off your own paycheck, your standards suddenly shifted. That's not clarity. That's panic. That's not true. When you lived in my house, spending from my accounts, you told Janet you wondered what you were thinking when you married me. Now, living off your salary, you're suddenly in love again. She had no reply. I miss us. You missed the version of your life where you didn't have to pay for things and still felt superior. That version is gone. I turned and walked back to work. She sat in her car for 10 minutes before driving off. 2 months later, it was final. The separation turned into divorce. Claire signed the papers once her lawyer explained dragging it out wouldn't change the outcome. Just cost her more. She found a modest apartment she could afford on her income. Picked up extra hours at the dental clinic. Eventually, I heard she started dating someone new. A guy she met through a mutual friend. college educated, knows about wine, comfortable at upscale gatherings. Good for her. Maybe this time she'll find someone who fits into the world she thinks she deserves. As for me, I kept the house, the business, and most importantly, my dignity. Started seeing Maria, a first-grade teacher from town. She thinks it's admirable I built a company from scratch. She loves that I own a home and take care of my responsibilities. Not once has she hinted that I embarrass her or need coaching to act a certain way at social events. The best part? Running into Claire at the grocery store a few weeks ago. She was checking labels and comparing prices. Gone were the days of premium brands and luxury carts. She spotted me and started to walk over. I nodded politely and kept walking, because sometimes the best kind of justice is letting people live with the outcome they chose. Claire wanted someone who made her feel like she'd married up. Now she gets to experience what that looks like on her own dime. Meanwhile, I get to live my life with someone who doesn't think loving me is a compromise.